Good people, pray heed our petition. Your attention we beg and we pray. And if you are inclined for to listen, an abundance of pastime we'll have. We have come to relate many stories concerning our forefathers' time, and we trust they will drive out your worries. Of that we are all in one mind. There are songs of the poor and the gentry, of labour and love you will find. There are no finer songs in this country, nor in Scotland nor Ireland likewise. There is one thing more needing mention. We hope that we won't keep you long, and now that you've gained our intention, we'll play on for to sing you some songs. Hello, I'm Callum, and that was a Calling On song, which was written by Ashley Hutchings for Steel I Span, and seeing as it's kind of introductory, seemed like a good place to start this set. I'm going to follow it with a song from the southwest, which is where I grew up. This is a song by Cyril Tawney called The Oggie Man, Oggie being a southwestern word for a pasty. And this song tells of the Oggie man who worked in the Devonport dockyard down in Plymouth, and who through the 40s and the 50s found business declining as the more kind of industrialised food outlets moved in. So this is The Oggie Man. Well, the rain softly falling, and the Oggie man's no more. I can't hear him calling like I used to before. I turned through the gateway, and I heard the sergeant say, "The big boys are coming, see there stands across the way." Well, the rain softly falling, and the Oggie man's no more. It was there that she told me, as she bade me goodbye, "There's no one shall miss you one half as much as I. My love will endure, dear, like a beacon in the squall, eternal as that Oggie man beneath the dockyard wall." Well, the rain softly falling, and the Oggie man's no more. The Oggie Man. The next song I'm going to sing is one from the West Midlands, and I really do this kind of to pay homage to the vocal group Stream of Sound, who I've been lucky enough to do most of my singing with over the past few years. So I'm going to do the Nailmakers' Strike of 1862. And this tells the story of a group of striking nailers who were being exploited by their nail foggers, who both sold them their materials and bought the nails back off them, as well as being kind of squeezed out of the industry by mechanised nail making that was coming in. And they were striking, and they were given a ton of coal by a benefactor to support them. And to raise funds for their strike, they dragged this coal all the way from the town of Halesowen to Bromsgrove. And if you're familiar with that area of the West Midlands, you will know that between Halesowen and Bromsgrove there is a distance of approximately 13 miles and an extremely big hill. So, the Nailmaker's Strike. You nail makers all that day you remember well, in the last strike of which this tale I tell, how cold and hungry we that heavy day to Bromsgrove town did take our toilsome way, and those nail forgers, miserable souls, will not forget the giver of the coals. Nail masters are hard-hearted files. The way we took was over 13 miles. The slaves abroad all in the sugar cane find some to pity and to help their pain. The slaves at home all in the mines of fire find those who pity but none to admire. And you nail dealers I would wish to see, you drawing such a heavy load as we, to share our punishments and bitter smarts, that they might soften your hard stony hearts. So as we nailers suffer many smarts, we hope that this will soften Pharaoh's heart. Let every nailer tell this to his son, the labours that we for our rights have done. You nail makers all that day you remember well. The Nailmaker's Strike. Well, having done the classic folk double whammy of a lost love and some striking workers, now might be a good time to raise the mood slightly. So to do that, I'm going to head back to Devon for a song called Bampton Fair, which was written by Paul Wilson. And it tells of a trip that Paul took to Bampton Fair, the historic fair famous for selling and buying horses on Dartmoor. And he took that trip in the early 70s, and he found that the fair was somewhat changed from all the old stories that he'd heard. I was lucky enough to learn this song from Paul, so I hope you'll forgive me if I get a little Devonshire kick in the accent. There's a nice word in this one, gry, which is an old Romany word meaning horse, so keep an eye out for that one. Bampton Fair. Are you going to Bampton Fair? Get your beer down, Bob, we're moving. Are you going to Bampton Fair, boy? I'll go to the fair like I've always done. Get in the car and give it a run. Get a few friends and have some fun. Down at Bampton Fair, boy, down at Bampton Fair. Who did you see at Bampton Fair? Get your beer down, Bob, we're moving. Who did you see at Bampton Fair, boy? Young ones, old ones, me and you. Travellers, farmers and visitors too. Even had a TV crew. Down at Bampton Fair, boy, down at Bampton Fair. What did you drink at Bampton Fair? Get your beer down, Bob, we're moving. What did you drink at Bampton Fair, boy? 21 pints and one for me head. A Scotch or a brandy or a port instead. All served up in a muddy old shed. Down at Bampton Fair, boy, down at Bampton Fair. What did you buy at Bampton Fair? Get your beer down, Bob, we're moving. What did you buy at Bampton Fair, boy? A crockery set that's got no cups, a brand new shirt that has no cuffs, a bloomin' old gry that's got no puff. Down at Bampton Fair, boy, down at Bampton Fair. What did you get at Bampton Fair? Get your beer down, Bob, we're moving. What did you get at Bampton Fair, boy? 2 black eyes and a broken nose. I caught a cold and I damn near froze. A bump on the head and I tore me clothes. Down at Bampton Fair, boy, down at Bampton Fair. Will you go next year to Bampton Fair? Get your beer down, Bob, we're moving. Will you go next year to Bampton Fair, boy? If the pubs are open and the beer is free, if the landlord says it's all on me, if I can't think of anywhere else to be, I'll go to Bampton Fair, boy, go to Bampton Fair. Bampton Fair. A little bit light on places to breathe, that one. So, that's going to bring me to the last one. I'm going to do a song from America called The Riley Boys. Excuse me. This was written by an American singer-songwriter called Carol Denny. And she wrote it in the early 2000s in response to the war in Iraq. But over the past few months, I haven't really been able to stop kind of singing it or listening to it or going over the words in my head. So I thought I'd give it a sing for you now. The Riley Boys. It was lovely in the spring, all the flowers were in bloom, and we stood beside the shore for a moment. There were birds and there were planes, flying patterns all around, and we shared a single sound for a moment. If the Riley boys were here, they would tell us all was well, not to cry and not to worry for tomorrow. If the Riley boys were here, this would be a joyous tear, instead of one for mercy and for sorrow. If it's quiet in the street, it is not for want of feet that would march if they could only find the way. If the halo round the light on this quiet street tonight showed the hearts that wander by, they would be crying. If the Riley boys were here, they would probably take our hands and remind us that on earth our days are fleeting. If the Riley boys were here and their gentle voices near, they'd remind us all that someday we'll be meeting. It's so hard to read the news and so beautiful outside, and the world that seemed so wide now seems so broken. All the things we love and keep in our thoughts and in our sleep, startled birds that we have suddenly awoken. If the Riley boys were here, they would tell us not to cry. Dry your eyes, they'd say, there's work to do tomorrow. If the Riley boys were here, we'd hold fast another year and be thankful for what mercy we could borrow. If the Riley boys were here, they would surely take our hands and remind us that on earth our days are fleeting. If the Riley boys were here and their gentle voices near, they'd remind us all that someday we'll be meeting.